Hello, everybody, and thank you for stopping by. Today, I'm going to present to you one aspect of the Union Budget 2023, which is the finance minister's speech on and specific references on how the union government wants to build the Indian digital economy. So it is not this video is not a discussion on the budget, neither is it an appraisal of the union government's performance on fiscal parameters. It is only limited to Digital India and how the technology infrastructure is getting facilitated over periods in time by the current government or the current political dispensation. Right. And with that, I would just want to give a preface to this conversation to say that the journey towards digital India has been very interesting. What started off as the Aadhaar or the identity or the digital identity has now taken shape in form of an entire digital ecosystem now known as the India Stack. The India Stack has a fundamental or the foundational layer of the India Stack, which is the digital infrastructure of the country, is based on the presence-less layer or called the Aadhaar, which is the foundational layer. On top of that, we have the paperless layer, wherein you don't need to have a document to transact, and it can be pulled out from document registries, and you have e-signatures, digi-lockers, and so on and so forth, both which actually changes the way you do KYC or multiple other transactions on how citizens and governments interact or governments and institutions interact. On top of the paperless layer is the cashless layer, which is the interoperable payment through the Unified Payment Interface or the UPI, which is again a world gold standard implementation. On top of the paperless layer is something called the presenceless layer. Sorry, not the presenceless layer, the consent layer, where documents are ported to complete the transaction, and you can call for documents through using a user's consent. Now, this layer was getting built. Now it has matured to an extent which actually makes paperless transactions absolutely a norm. The latest example of the consent layer is the Digi Yatra, where you can actually get your identity or the Aadhaar identity transported into a platform which actually enables you to do a check-in in an airport without a paper. So you upload a boarding pass, and then you at the back end it actually validates you from your Aadhaar registry, and that enables this process to move smoothly. With that, when we're going to focus on the 2023 budget, we're going to say that how is the government building on certain themes? And the reference point for me is two documents, which is the National AI Strategy document, which was an outcome of the budget speech of 2019, and the National Digital Health Mission. And how is the government, over periods in time, over multiple budgets, who are actually consolidating its positions, what are its hits and misses. Now, with that, in this channel, in my YouTube channel, I have posted videos on national AI strategy, so that when it talks about what India wants to do in the space of artificial intelligence, and also the Indian digital economy, the links of which I will put in the comments section of this video. Anybody interested might want to watch the videos to get a full understanding of where the government wishes to take the country in terms of artificial intelligence. With that, let us now move to the presentation. Oh, sorry. Yeah. Now, this is Building Digital India, Budget 2023, the technology ecosystem. And as I said, how does this budget build on previous budgets or previous interventions, the consistency of approach, interventions, investments, course corrections, if any, and what themes were not emphasized in the budget, which are also important for me. Now, this is, as I said, it is not an assessment of the priorities of the government of India on digital. Its intention is to simply place facts before the viewers of this channel. With that, let us move to the presentation. What I have done is classified the finance minister's budget speech and her reference to technology in three buckets. The first being technology infrastructure, the base on which digital India is being built, Aadhaar being the foundational layer. Then there is the capability and scale drivers. What kind of capabilities and what kind of things is the government planning to do to drive technology at scale? And finally, we're going to talk about technology tools. Now, technology tools basically says that what kind of tools are getting established from a central standpoint to enable an ecosystem to be more productive over periods in time. With that, let me start with the government's push on agriculture and its use of technology in agriculture. Now, if you look at Indian agriculture, it suffers from structural and endemic problems, which are basically unviable land holdings, agricultural practices, much of which are redundant, agri credit, access to agri credit, intermediation, non value added intermediation, where the farmer pays the intermediary a lot of money, and that does not help the farmer in terms of the price that the farmer gets for the end produce, and agri insurance. Now, agri-tech in India is almost a decade old. Tech-enabled models over time solve farmers' access to market credit, crop advisory, curated content around specific soil, weather conditions, personal advisory, and so on and so forth. The government of India has participated through its national AI strategy program in soil health monitoring, crop health monitoring projects, which are somehow gaining scale at this point in time. However, what is more important is in this budget, the finance minister proposes creating a public infrastructure on agriculture, which is an open source, open standard, and interpolable data to enable relevant crop planning and farmer input solutions to gain scale. So the technology infrastructure in this case is to create an open source data base, which is again based on open standard. Data is interpolable, which would give the agri-tech players, which were starved of data and content, to get sharper data to make its advisory more curated and more value added and accretive. So which does two things. One, it enables newer players to come into the market. It newer agri-tech players, they get more funded, and also existing agri-tech players actually solve problems at scale, right? The next important thing is the national data governance policy. Now, this is a very, very critical move, which enables access to anonymized data through public APIs. Anonymized data is data without personally identifiable markers. So you get big data and patterns of data, and with the public APIs, you can access the data, which drives critical innovations across multiple use cases in digital lending, in risk assessment, to actually you get to know what kind of patterns of behavior consumers do and what kind of people are not going to be delinquent in terms of digital lending. It helps in risk assessment, also in precision medicines, which is adherence to medical protocols and so on and so forth. Clearly a very, very significant move, and it enables the ease of data to be shared across multiple stakeholders for the data to be more usable. The third important thing is connectivity. Now, the India, with its emphasis on 5G services, India has been a laggard in terms of connectivity, while the world is making huge investments on 5G and 6G networks. Low latency connectivity and its investment in this budget on 5G networks facilitates multiple use cases in edge computing, speed of data processing, and therefore we are getting closer to global standards through these interventions, which will have significant impact and accelerate multiple applications in business models, in precision farming, in healthcare, and also very importantly, something very close to me is on smart classrooms. The, the fourth important infrastructural play here is the National Digital Library for Children. This enables a reading habit, and it's accessible by a huge amount of people who do not have access to books on the physical format. The last one on the technology infrastructure space is the push towards using fintech, using public infrastructure, which is Aadhaar, video KYC, digital signature, etc., to fortify the consenting layer of the India stack. So, which means that if I have to do a transaction with the financial services infrastructure, be it access to information around insurance, and keep my insurance document in DigiLocker, pay for my insurance. All of this is through a public infrastructure, which enables fintechs to work much more cohesively without any friction in the process between the individual and the institution. So On the technology infrastructure side, while there are some misses which I'm going to talk about in the next few slides, it is on the ball and it is fortifying and building on the themes of technology infrastructure that the national AI policy did. However, I would like to see some more interventions around healthcare and education, which was not called out specifically in this budget. The second important quadrant is capability and scale drivers, and the government talks about interdisciplinary research on artificial intelligence, where it is prepping up centers of excellence on AI. Now, this is important because if we have to compete in data sciences, industry players we need to partner on interdisciplinary research on cutting edge applications and problems to create a full-fledged AI ecosystem. The second important scale driver is the Agriculture Accelerator Fund, which is to encourage agri startups by young entrepreneurs in rural areas. This fund is aimed to bringing innovative and affordable solutions for the farmers who face those structural challenges in terms of access to agricultural credit, crop insurance, crop advisory, and so on and so forth. Which again, the other Philip is obviously, I talked about it a few minutes ago, which is the digital public infrastructure on agriculture. That huge database and anonymized data will allow the new startups to function much more effectively and solve problems at scale. The third important thing is part of the Digital India Skill Program, and I'll not labor on it much, which is a digital platform to enable the growth, which is the demand side, which is the capability side to solve problems at scale. Now, with that, these are the two big themes. The government has also spent time on creating certain technical tools for the ease of doing business. Now, while the DigiLocker had a personal DigiLocker at an individual level, it has created an entity DigiLocker where entity records can be put in this particular format and can be accessed, and it enables the ease of doing business. While this may not be a very significant one, but it is obviously an important tactical move which enables entities to interact better with the government. The second important technology tool that has come up, which is the National Financial Information Registry, which enables the flow of credit, financial inclusion, and stability. This is something like the National Health Stack, and a more profound one where you have this providers of financial services and users, and there is an disintermediation, or the brokers are kind of eliminated through this registry. Right? Now, now the next question is what is consistent? The government's focus on agriculture, education, and financial services remain consistent, while on agriculture, it is building a digital infra libraries through a higher budgetary allocation in tech, though I would prefer a higher budgetary allocation in tech usage to reduce the dropout ratio. That would have been nice. And the 5G use in in education, which obviously enables people to kind of have low latency and better content delivered effectively to the classrooms. Now, I did talk about agriculture in terms of the public infrastructure on agriculture. It is a significant move. Financial services, the registry, data governance policy for anonymized data is also the consistent things that we see of the budget. So these are the big three themes which are consistently cutting across the last few budgets and is consistent with the national AI policy and the other documents on the subject. Now, what I would have wanted in this budget are the themes that have not been highlighted. Now, this might be in some other document, but it's not there in the finance minister's speech, which is the investment in healthcare. Now, globally, healthcare in advanced countries around 12 to 16% of the GDP. India is less at 2 to 2.5%. Now, the National Digital Health Mission, which was launched in August 2020, and the National Health Stack, and the implementation, which is basically the coverage claims, the federal PHR framework, all of that has been put in place, but we really don't know how much has it been effective. The National Health Registry, which is the providers, doctors, and so on and so forth, and how is the entire ecosystem playing out? How do we want to accelerate it further? There was no mention in this particular budget. For me, this is a very significant move, very significant miss. On the BFSI stack, while there is an approval, there is a process where full stack digital banks, there's a proposal of full stack digital banks. But what happened? What is the next step around it? Are we going to allow full stack digital banks in a sandbag mode or in the full stack mode? We don't know. And that is another thing which is not coming out very clearly. On the education side, while adaptive learning tools, interactive tutoring systems, which are all technology led interventions, part of the national AI strategy, has not found its place in this particular budget. Similarly, smart mobility, the decongestion of roads. And the other important thing that I would love to see is adoption of new tech at scale. I mean, in terms of blockchain, both public information for disintermediation and creating, reducing friction between entities and the government or between multiple entities was not highlighted in this budget. Right now, with that, it comes back to the so to summarize, there are parts of the budget which are consistent. There are important infrastructure things. The government continues to do so, but in terms of its misses, its focus on healthcare, on digital health, and its focus on education was sadly missing. However, we need to understand that budget is a fine, complicated balancing act for a company, for a country of our size, and therefore, with that, to summarize, I would say that the budget has its own hits and misses like any other budget, and but we continue to build Amrit Kaal, which is an empowered and inclusive economy, which is again technology led and knowledge based. With that, I would like to conclude this video and hope you liked it. Do share and comment as you deem fit. Thank you for watching. Have a nice day.